Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of Flesh Wound Farce. This is the world's first and only combination trivia host and professional wrestling announcer of Chilean descent that currently resides in Southern California, Ozzy V. And with me, as always, first in the Northern Bay Area is Greg Larson.
Hey, Ozzy.
How's
it going?
I'm doing pretty well right now. We discussed that I won some money in football, so I'm doing thrilled because I have the power to make the right decisions that put me in the position to be happy, unlike the coaching staff of the Vegas Raiders. Todd, Flesh Wound producer, Todd Loya, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. You seem a little high strung tonight.
It's a mixture. It's a combination of things. I was frustrated because I do the intermittent fasting thing, so I only have like an 8-hour window to eat, and I like to eat or like drink caffeine, soda, beer, whatever you want to call it, while I watch the Raiders. So when they play a 10 a.m. game, I got to make some adjustments. That means by 6 o'clock, I can't have anything. So it's been 3 hours that I've had nothing but water, and this has just been... I apologize. But anyway, welcome to the show where we review your favorite comedies, not just farcical comedies. That was a little much, but we recorded on a Sunday. We're recording on a Sunday night, which isn't the norm. This is why we usually try to do Saturday nights, because otherwise I've just got football in my mind. But anyway, what we did this week is we watched Trading Places. Initial thoughts. I mean, I loved it. Of course, I'll go into detail, favorite things and ratings. Why? But you have any opening thoughts, Greg or Todd?
You know, I forgot how much of a powerhouse Eddie Murphy can be. So that was really fun because, man, it just along the lines of like Robin Williams kind of people that, you know, when they enter a room, they just steal the show. So that alone was fantastic. But it was a fun recap. I haven't seen it in quite some time.
And Todd, before I get the synopsis here.
Yeah. No, I've always loved this one. I tend to watch it annually in December, getting ready for the holiday. It's one of John Landis's best, if not his best.
Indeed. Speaking, John Landis was the director, and this film released on June 8th, 1983, where an upper crust executive, Louis Winthorpe III, played by Dan Aykroyd, and down-and-out hustler Billy Ray Valentine, played by Eddie Murphy, are the subjects of a bet by successful brokers Mortimer, Don Amishi, I believe, Amishi, and Randolph Amici, Don Amici, and Randolph Duke, played by Ralph Bellamy. An employee of the Dukes, Winthorpe is framed by the brothers for a crime he didn't commit, with the siblings then installing the street-smart Valentine in his position. When Winthorpe and Valentine uncover the scheme, they set out to turn the tables on the Dukes. And yeah, this was, like you said, Greg, it was a great reminder as far as how talented and how powerful Eddie Murphy can be as just an on-screen presence. When you first, and any scene that he's in, he's more than just any 80s comedic actor, because we had tons of 80s comedies, but he was definitely a cut above. And I'm just going to jump into one of my favorite lines here, or favorite moments that had me in tears and probably laughing till it hurt, like really hurt. And I had to pause it so I could write this down. And then when I'd go back and see it again, it caught me 2 extra times. I didn't watch this part 3 total times. When the Dukes are explaining to Valentine what they do in terms of stocks and how they sell the commodities. And he says, pork bellies, which is used to make bacon, which you might find in a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich. At which point, Valentine just looks at the camera, breaks the and just the timing and just the amount of time that was spent on the camera, just, oh my Lord, just, it was like, the look was this motherfucker. Like that. Right. That's what I heard in my head. Right. No. I guess like because I was so I loved Raw, Eddie Murphy Raw, his stand-up special, and Delirious. In my head, I'm thinking like his mini stand-up. It's like time froze in that scene. Time froze for me, and it instantly took back to like a setting of Raw or Delirious, where he says, "This motherfucker didn't think I know what bacon is in a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich." Like, holy cow! I was in tears, and it hurt. What about you guys for your favorite moments or lines?
It was tough, to be honest, pick a few, because I watched it with my wife, which made for a fun experience because the jokes would definitely not fly in today's day and age.
Yeah.
And my wife being Vietnamese, the moment where he talked about being a nom and he was at Bing Bong and Ting Tang, and she was just like, they really went there. And she had a good laugh about it. But I was just like, as the white guy, I kind of look over and go, is this okay? Are we continuing? All right, cool, we're good. But no, my favorite would have to be just that moment where he gets caught for not being a blind, legless man, and it's essentially within the same scene, and he does like 3 minutes straight of himself backing away and just being like, it's a miracle. And I go, this is probably where Family Guy got it from. These like far too extended comedy moments doing the same thing where it's funny at first, then it starts to drag, and you're like, okay, I get it. But then it hits home, you're like, all right, you came back.
There's an additional level to it.
Exactly.
Oh, man. Todd?
Well, I also I can see I have legs, but I'll go with my second on this one then. I just love the part where like they're showing him around his house and he's going through and he's putting things in his pocket and stuff, which later on it's just a little bit because I really like the when you want me to break something else, but there's a little moment later when Dan Aykroyd's character plants the drugs in his desk and he's like throwing everything in the trash, and then he grabs the joint and just puts it in his pocket, keeps throwing stuff in the trash. That part it still makes me bust up. It's just subtle and
actually an important plot point. I mean, we are enacting our spoiler alert rule where the movie's been released for 30 years. So moving forward, him taking that. I'm sorry. What's that?
I was going to say it's like 37 years.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it. It feels like a setup.
1983. That's all I'm going to say.
I understand that, but you want me to repeat the number with a question mark following, so you can have a big uproar about it because you think I look like Dante. Moving on.
Especially with the hair down.
That doesn't.
And the face.
Can we not? We're talking about trading places here. Now, there was an important plot point where, in order to smoke the joint, he went into the bathroom and needed to hide that he wasn't in the bathroom. And then he found out what the bet was. Also, some interesting notes about this. I first saw The Dukes. Before I saw this movie, obviously, I didn't see this first until I was something around my late teens. But where I first saw Don Amici, the only time I saw him actually was from Harry and the Hendersons. He played, he was the guy in the general store. So it was really interesting to see him use such choice language in this film.
The hard ER jumps out.
Right, indeed. And Ralph Bellamy, I knew from, I was familiar with, I should say, him in Disorderlies as Mr. Dennison. So that was...
Well, I was going to say they're also in Coming to America in a little cameo.
Yeah, isn't that supposed to be a callback? Because
it is, yeah, because they're pouring that.
Broken, yeah, completely. Yeah, so yeah, it's fun notes for me. Todd, is there any fun trivia you have or any?
There is. Let's see if you guys can get this. This film was conceived for a different comedy team. We'll go with. What comedy team do you think that was?
Oh, completely like different people, different actors,
complete different actors.
I'm gonna go Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder,
and you got it.
Oh man!
And when Richard Pryor dropped out and Eddie Murphy came on, he was the one who was like, well, I don't want to look like I'm just following his footsteps. We need to get someone else instead of Gene Wilder.
Mm-hmm.
Because it would have been a little too similar.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that end up watching what's the western? Why am I blanking on
Blazing
it?
Saddles.
Blazing Saddles. So many people, like, if they haven't seen it in a while, like, oh, it's not Richard Pryor, and I'm like, you're racist. And but then we move on. So
also funny to see Paul Gleason in this movie, just because he's made a career out of being an asshole. And
He's good at it.
Yeah.
not and well, I mean, like, there's like, it's funny. I'm gonna bring up Die Hard. He's also in Die Hard as an asshole, but also in Die Hard is Alan Rickman, who can play a great villain. But it's cool to make a career out of being known as a guy who can be a great villain. Being known as the guy, because Die Hard, Breakfast Club. What else am I missing? I know I'm missing some other. He's, like I said, he made a career off this, but it was fun to see that as well. Now, in terms of how I'd rate the movie, I really, because while it wasn't a lot of laugh out loud joke line humor, it was a funny story from start to finish. Like, it wasn't like ha ha funny. It was an amusing funny. And it was fun to see the payout at the end, which even then, after him explaining how the stock market, quote, works, I still don't understand how any of that works.
There's a trivia bit about that also, that either did Eddie Murphy. So in like that whole part on the floor at the end, he's just doing his lines. He has no idea what he's saying. He's just saying what he needs to say.
Excellent. Yeah, it was definitely fun. So I'm going to have to give it a 4 for, as I said, it's not exactly like a joke after joke after joke. You're going to keep laughing comedy, but the story itself is amusingly entertaining enough, I think, to make me feel as though I've seen a good comedy, and walking away, I would give it a 4.
Yeah. When it first started, like beginning of the movie, I was like, this is a 4. Because there were so many great moments in the beginning. And then it kind of chilled out for a while. And I was like, okay, maybe we're going down to a 3, trying to assess it as it goes. And then the train scene happened. And that whole moment, I was like, nope, we're going back. So that 4 is definitely being locked and loaded. So,
well, since no one brought it up, I'm going to give an extra half point right off the bat for Jamie Lee Curtis.
Of course. Of course.
She never showed her tits till she went legit. So this is her first nude scene after being a scream queen for years and years. So I had to put that over. But I'm a 4.5, and now you know where the half came from.
Gotcha.
I should have added 2, but that doesn't make sense.
And just to give, I mean, in case anybody who hasn't seen this, it's about 2 hours rather than the traditional 90-minute comedy. So usually when comedies are 2 hours, they got to have a good story with it. And that's alluding to one day when we will cover Inner Space. But it's 4 for me and Greg, and 4.5 for Todd. And of course, this was kicking off our series of Christmas movies that we're going to be watching. And you might ask, how is Trading Places of Christmas movies? Well, there's a particular scene with a drunk Santa. I won't go into detail if you haven't seen it. There's something that can be left for you, but if you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Also can still be constituted as a New Year's movie.
Yeah, they do it. They definitely hit both of those in it. But
holiday movie.
Yeah, there you go. It starts off at Thanksgiving, so
it does start off at Thanksgiving.
So you can watch it for like 3 solid months. It'll work.
We covered it at a good point. And feel free to join us next week as the next film we will be switching to. I believe I mentioned this prior that we were going to be watching Gremlins. However, after more thought and after starting to watch it, definitely more of a horror than a comedy. The first one was. Second one, I think, is absolute flat-out comedy, but the first one, I'd say, is more horror, so we're going to swap it with Bad Santa. I am definitely excited to revisit this one. One of the movies, top 5 of all time that I've never ever laughed so hard and again, like out of breath, getting stars and seeing spots. So feel free to join us next week for that. Greg and Todd, any closing thoughts before we head out?
No, Raiders lost, so I'm good.
Well, since Ozzy didn't mention it, we will be covering Gremlins on Flesh Wound Horror.
I apologize. Yes,
with special guest Ozzy V,
our sister show.
Wouldn't you be the sister? I don't know how it works.
In network,
I don't know.
Sibling show.
Just as long as you don't say Flesh Wound Universe, we're good. See,
this is the Flesh Wound Network, and this has been Flesh Wound Farce. I'm Ozzy V. That's Greg and Todd, and we'll see you next week right here on Flesh Wound Farce. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.